All right, welcome to the final Kiali Sprint demo of the year. This is Sprint 2416, or the 16th Sprint of 2024, and this is in preparation for our release coming out on the following Monday of Kiali 2.3, the third in our new v2 version of Kiali. So what we will do is quickly give you a summary of what we did in this sprint. Couple small demos, and then we'll have community discussion at the end after recording stops if anybody wants to ask questions. As usual, most of the work this sprint was done in the main Kiali repo, but as usual across the board, we made some improvements in documentation and so forth. All right, so one thing that happened when we put out version 2 of Kiali is it was a re-implementation of the graph using Patternfly, which is the component library we use for all of Kiali. So this gave us parity and consistency across the code base, but we did receive some pretty immediate feedback that the traffic animation that we had provided earlier was sorely missed by a few people. They really liked the point-based animation, which Patternfly did not do. It had a dash-based animation. So we spent some time trying to bring back the animation. We think we have it, and that is going to be in 2.3. I'll do a very short comparison of the two. It is configurable. So in version 2.0, when you enable traffic animation, you got this dash-based animation, which does still show, your status. You've got reds, greens, blues here for TCP. It does have varying rates, but it doesn't quite give you that same sense of the traffic flowing. So we now have in this new Patternfly v2 graph an implementation that's showing the the point-based animation, and this is the new default. So we're going back to this as what you'll see if you enable traffic animation. But if you actually prefer the dashes, you can, in the Kiali CR, configure that, and that's docked in kiali.io. All right, so hopefully that makes at least some people that miss the old animation happy. We continue to do a lot of work for ambient support. Now that ambient is GA in Istio 1.24, it's been getting even more attention than before. And we're trying to stay ahead of the curve on Kiali. It's challenging because they keep adding more ambient features. They keep making a few changes, although now that it's GA, it should be a bit more stable at least. But one thing that we missed in the earlier versions was this use case of traffic being reported from a gateway outside of the namespace that you selected in the namespace dropdown. So what you're seeing in this picture here is the traffic that was missing on the left side. You didn't see the HTTP edge previously. The TCP you would see because of zTunnel, but you did not see the HTTP. Now you do. So just trying to continue to give you the best ambient visualizations that we can. In the same vein, Josune has been working a lot on ambient improvements across the board, and I'll hand it over to Josune to talk about this.
Thanks, Jay. For this, I'm going to do a short demo. I'm going to share my screen. Anyway, in the slide, you have a summary of all the changes that we have done. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
It's coming. Yep, there it is. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have added some enhancements for ambient that can help us to understand in Kiali our ambient mesh, and also things that can help us to troubleshoot. And some of the improvements are in our workflows detail. So one of the things that we have done is to include the protocol in the workload pod details. So if we are seeing here our pods and we click in this information icon, we can see several information about the pod, but we have included this protocol that is H-bound when we are in an ambient mesh or our traffic is enrolled in cTunnel. And for the contrary, in other workloads or pods, we will see TCP. Another of the improvements is like, well, we have a workload included in ambient. We can see here if it was included in cTunnel, seeing this layer 4 label, or with waypoint proxy with our layer 7 badge. But now we have included here a link when it has a waypoint proxy, which is the waypoint proxy that is related to this workload. So we can quickly click here and see our workload for the waypoint proxy. In this screen, that is the waypoint workload details, we are adding here a label indicating that this is an Istio ambient proxy that is part of the ambient infrastructure. And we are signalizing or showing this as a layer 7, which is an important concept in ambient, because in this way we know we can apply to the workloads that are involved here the traffic policies, observability at the layer 7. And more information about these waypoints that we have included is the status for the proxy, for the waypoints. And we have included a new information status report, which indicates that any of the discovery selectors is ignored or not. This is a new status because we used to show if the status was a success or it has any error or warning. But in the case of the waypoint proxy, now we have some of the status that are ignored. And this usually is going to be something that is expected, but in some particular cases, it may not be expected. And we are showing this as this tool, in this tooltip, this informational message. Apart from this, for the waypoint proxies, we have done some changes to be able to show the traces, because now with ambient is the waypoint proxy that is going to emit the traces for our services or workloads. So we are used to see the tracing information attached to our services or workloads, but for ambient, this is a little bit different, because ambient reports the traces using the waypoint service name. And as this is how this is reported, if we want to check our traces in ambient, we should go to our waypoint workload and see the information here. This is something that we might change in the future, but for this version, we are going to be able to see it here. In previous versions of Kiali, we were not able to see these traces in waypoints or gateways also, because Kiali used to filter the workloads and related to the app label for the workloads. But we have created this exception for the waypoints and also for the gateways. And another change, we have also enabled the Envoy tab for the waypoints, because there is also a lot of information here that is very useful for troubleshooting. And another addition here is in the cTunnel visualization. So if we are going to the Istio system, where we have our cTunnel workloads deployed, we are going to see in our workloads detail, we have a new tab that is the cTunnel tab. And here we are going to be able to see the same information that we can see if we use the istioctl cTunnel config command, and we select the services of the workload subcommand. So here we are going to be able to see all our services information, if it has any waypoint proxy related, how many endpoints are up, the service VIP, and also if we click in the workloads, we are going to see information like the node or for example, the protocol, which in this case is the same information that is attached in the workload details. And well, here we are continually working in this line, like probably including more information here and doing enhancements related to this, like for example, adding filters here to be able to see more easily this information that sometimes can be really big. And that's it. Jay, I will stop presenting.
And I will start presenting again. Awesome. As everyone can see, Jasuni has been very busy, and these are really nice enhancements for the people that are using Ambient. So let's continue. And if that wasn't enough, another slide for Jasuni.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, this was a feature that we've been talking as a work in progress in the past demo. So I'm going to go really quickly related to this. So in this version, we have released a new tempo cache. It's a cache that is going to be enabled by default. And it's a really simple cache that is going to save the last 200 traces, saved by ID, in order to reduce the number of calls to the backend in tempo. And apart from this, the cache is internally having a TTL, a time to live for every trace, and by default, well, it's 5 minutes. And the good thing is, like, Kiali is saving information, metrics, is emitting metrics related to the number of hits of this cache. So we can quickly check these metrics and see if the cache is useless or not. In that case, we can quickly disable the cache with these configurations. Or we can also change the cache capacity if we want to get it bigger or smaller if we think this is using a lot of space. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty expensive to do the queries to tempo. So we definitely wanted to invest a little bit in trying to make that as efficient as we can. And I think this caching is going to be very helpful. But as Jasuni mentioned, it's definitely able to be disabled or configured slightly for the sizing. Something that's been asked for a while and has finally been able to, we've been able to get some time and effort put into it, is what Heike's been working on. And that is to improve our workload entry support. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, Heike?
Yeah, thank you, Jay. So we had some long-time ongoing community feature request to support workload groups and the generated workloads which are on virtual machines. So we started adding a support of it. Besides showing workload groups and workload entries in Istio config lists as a configurations, now the workloads page of Kiali is listing workload group. It is shown as a workload, but it has a different view. So in a workload details page, instead of the pods, it will show workload entries, and it will show a different information, and those workloads will be read-only. So no any action on this. So this feature is ongoing, and we are going to also add all the references between workload groups, workload entries, and with Istio configs as well. So that's it.
Excellent. Right. So not this release, but either in a release coming soon, you'll start to see this roll out. All right, a couple of other notable changes in what we've been up to. We have been working to make sure that our dual stack support is improved and proven to work. Continue to do that. We have added some information to Kiali.io, especially around that tempo caching and a few other things. I think there's actually a couple of things that aren't listed here as well, but that's always getting updated. We have been doing a little bit of perf profiling work. There's a reported issue potentially in a slow memory buildup that we're trying to solve. A couple of other issues as well. Again, it's an ongoing work to try to scale Kiali for the larger and larger Istio deployments that are coming online in production. We did update Golang to 123.2 for our builds, and ongoing work here with community involvement is to migrate our form select to a pattern fly select. Again, this goes back to just making sure that we've got pattern fly and pattern fly patterns applied across the UI for consistency and for the UX of using Kiali. Bug fixes in the OpenShift plugin OSSMC, which uses kiosk mode. There was a fix to UL parameter handling for time duration, which is an important modal, so you can play with that one. Ongoing CVE fixes, every release just about. And we did have one fix to validations where this was getting fired in situations where we didn't want it. Also another community fix, so thank you to community members that are helping us out. Looking forward, you can always visit the project board on GitHub. The epics in progress are listed to the right. These show kind of our big areas of work, although they don't cover everything that we're doing. But you can always use this URL below to get to the project and see what's going on. And that is it. Last sprint demo of the year. And we will be moving forward in 2025. So thank you very much. I will stop the recording.